Well, it seems that St. Peter was up in heaven, and here comes Forrest Gump. And so St. Peter sees Forrest coming and says, "Well, Forrest, it's so good to see you. We've heard a lot about you, and I must inform you that this place is filling up pretty fast, so we've been administering an entrance exam for everyone, and the tests are fairly short, but you need to pass in order to get into heaven." And so Forrest responds, "Well, it sure is good to be here." Can't do a good Forrest Gump. "St. Peter, I was looking forward to this, but nobody ever told me about no entrance exam. I sure hope it's not too hard." So St. Peter said, "Well, here's the first question, Forrest. What days of the week begin with the letter T?" And Forrest says, "Well, how many days of the week start with the letter T? I think that'd be today and tomorrow." And the saint's eyes open wide, and he exclaims, "Well, Forrest, that's not exactly what I was thinking, but, you do have a point, and I guess I didn't specify, so I'll give you credit for that answer." So second question, how many seconds are in a year? Now, that one's harder, says Forrest, but let me think about that. I guess the only answer can be 12. And astounded, St. Peter says, 12? Forrest, how in heaven's name could you come up with 12 seconds in a year? And Forrest says, "Well, shucks, there got to be 12. January 2nd, February 2nd, March 2nd. "Well, hold it," interrupts St. Peter. "I see where you're going with this, and I guess I see your point, though that really wasn't quite what I had in mind, but I'll give you credit for that one too." Now it's time to answer the third question. What is God's name? And Forrest replied, "Oh, that's an easy one. It has to be Andy." Okay, said a frustrated St. Peter. "I guess I can understand how you came up with your answers to my first two questions, but just how in the world did you come up with the name Andy as the first name of God?" Forrest said, "That was the easiest one of all. I learned it from the song. Andy walks with me, Andy talks with me, and he tells me I am his own." Now, I told you when you hired me that you're going to hear some things from my Baptist roots. You remember In the Garden? Remember that hymn? The Garden? Okay, all right. So Forrest was just making it up, wasn't he? Well, welcome. So today is our first Sunday where we get to dive into this book called The Fifth Agreement. And I'm really excited about it. I hope you are too. Yay. Because I think we're familiar with the four agreements that have been around for a while. And so the fifth agreement surfaced as a result of Don Miguel Ruiz and his son, Don Jose, collaborating and really expanding on this wisdom, this Toltec wisdom. So this book is called A Book of Toltec Wisdom, and what does this mean? So the Toltec tradition started many, many years ago from a group of people that were considered to be scientists and artists in southern Mexico. And the scientists and artists were committed to exploring and really learning and preserving the wisdom of the ancient ones, of their culture. So they created this society to do that. And over the years, the wisdom was silenced due to European conquest and also from some apprentices that decided they were going to use the wisdom for their own personal gain. So Don Miguel and Don Jose obviously are from this Toltec tradition. And they just felt called to bring this wisdom because they have studied it at great length and they've become quite masterful at its application. And so they just wanted to share it in this book called The Fifth Agreement. So the Fifth Agreement is a way of life. It is also considered to be a practical guide to self-mastery. That's one of the subtitles as well. And so in this context, what self-mastery is when we can really get, through being self-aware, the truth of our divine nature, the truth of our oneness, that truly we can live a life of freedom and happiness and joy and peace and love, that that's possible for us. And so they've written this to support us on that journey. So, in the beginning is where we're starting with all this. And I thought it was fascinating that they included in this kind of prefix to the agreements the biblical story in Genesis of the creation. So here we go. So Genesis 1, there's two creation stories. And in the first, Genesis 1, God creates the heavens and the earth and humankind and names it good. And in the second creation story, yes, all that's created. But then there's Adam. And God says, Adam, you get to name everything. So Adam goes around and he names the birds in the air and the animals and the cattle. He names it. And so what Don Miguel and Don Jose bring forth for this to represent is everything was named, and once it's named, it has meaning. Once it's named, it has meaning. And so here we go with our journey. And so we are taught from when we were born, we came into this world in a state of innocence, and we start to be taught through the use of symbols. And so symbols are everything we speak, the alphabet, our language, the motions, our handwriting, everything is a symbol. Okay? And so our parents, from their parents and their parents, teach us these symbols. And from what we're taught, we try to make meaning and sense out of everything in life. How's that working for us? Yeah. So, for example, the chair that you're sitting in right now is, it's called a chair, right, in English. If it was Spanish, it would be called silla. So that's called a chair because we've agreed that it's a chair. And in Spanish, there's an agreement that that is a silla. So everything that we have learned through agreement. Okay, are you with me? All right. Okay, everything we learn goes into and staying in our brain by agreement. And once we give meaning to things, we start to try and use them, again, to make sense of the world around us. And we start to look at what's real and what's not real. And so in this context, what's real is what is. What is? The chair is. Now, I know that in some other studies, like the Course in Miracles and some other things, we look at life as an illusion. But in this study, how we are referring to what's real is what is, and what's not real are the interpretations we give to what is. Okay, so an example is, we have a body, that's what is. And we have an age, that's what is. And we have an appearance, that's what is. And our interpretation about that is another thing. And let me tell you, around this directory picture thing. Okay, so this whole room, was transformed into a photography studio. And all of us looked so beautiful, I gotta say. Everybody just looked just gorgeous with their, colors and everything. And I just have to say, and I'm gonna tell on myself, and if Cynthia was here, she'd probably do it too. When it came time for me to sit down over here and look at my pictures that were taken over here, oh boy, the conversation that I had. And it was not always my inside voice. It's like, oh my God, I'm 56 years old now. Ooh, look at that wrinkle. Ooh, look at that. Really? And I was not alone. I heard other people. Okay, you know who you are. Yeah. Wow, were we hard on ourselves? Well, I was hard on myself. Yeah. So do you see what is that we are human. I am human. And what I make up about that and what I judge is what's not real. But boy, can it sometimes feel real. And so here we go. Okay, so stay with me. So this is we're just laying the context of all this. So we come into this world, we're innocent, we're taught the symbols, we say yes to all of it through agreement. And then all of a sudden, what starts happening is that we start to turn those symbols against ourselves. In this process called domestication. That's what they call it in the book. So again, we're born, and our parents teach us. And it's not just our parents, is it? We've got siblings, we've got preachers, we've got teachers, all these people in our life that teach us along life's journey. And because we're small, we believe them. We believe everything. They're the ones that know, right? And I'm sitting here right now looking at my goddaughter, who is here, by the way, against the wall over here. And she is 6 months old, and so she's being domesticated by two really great people. And she's being domesticated because John and Amy are teaching her what they know. And she will grow up to be enlightened, I'm sure. So again, but what happens is we start to turn the symbols against us because our parents say, well, you should do this. Don't do it this way, do it that way, or don't do it that way, do it this way. And somehow we get this message that we're not good enough. Somehow along the way. And it's not just from our parents. Again, we have those other influences. And if you've been in any of my classes, I've talked about, the embedded theology that we're taught. Whether you've been in a church or not, you have an embedded theology. And some of us, it didn't work so well for us up to a certain point. And then it starts to be more deliberative because what starts happening, we start questioning, right? We start questioning, and we start learning, and we start growing, and we start going, wait a minute. I don't know about this agreement I've made. Is this really the truth about me? I have talked to many of you that you're on life's journey and all of a sudden you can't hear a theological message anymore that says you're a lowly sinner. Right? So you come and you explore unity, and so many of you have said you walked in the doors and it feels like home because you feel like you're seen, you feel like you are loved for all that you are. Yes. So here is this journey that we are on. And I think it just supports us so much in being aware of what we have said yes to through agreement. And folks, remember too, we are not a victim to our domestication. Our parents taught us what they knew, regardless of whether it was harsh or whether it worked for us or not. They taught us what they knew. And so here we are right now in this moment. And we are on the conscious spiritual journey. The journey of self-awareness. The journey to know more fully what we are. The journey to discover the self-limiting agreements that we've made, see. Because we are always at choice to shift them. But the foundation of all change has to be awareness. If we're not awareness, we're swimming in that pea soup. And another point is here we start to question, and I'm sure some of you have had this experience, that it starts to feel pretty scary. Because when you start to question how you've been domesticated, the people that have taught you might not understand when you step out of that dance. Why are you doing this? I have told you that my mother has me on every prayer list there is. She does. And I know she loves me, but she doesn't understand unity. And it's okay. It's okay. But do you see that how often it really calls us up to be courageous and strong in order to stand in our knowing of, you know what, this is my journey, and I'm saying yes to knowing all that I am, to being aware, and to letting go of those self-limiting agreements that I have said yes to. All right. So here's a quote I want to share with you from Don Miguel and Don Jose. To be aware means to open our eyes to see the truth. When we see the truth, we see everything just as it is, not the way we believe it is, not the way we wish it to be. Awareness opens the door to millions of possibilities. And if we know that we are the artist of our own life, we can make a choice from all those possibilities. The artist of our own life. No one paints the canvas of your life but you. And I tell you what, I see lots of works of art in front of me right now that are full of color and life. And this is just one more opportunity for us to keep expanding that canvas and to bring in more color. Are you with me? Yes. All right, so this week, I strongly encourage you to journal throughout this study. I do. I love journaling. I think it's powerful for us. And I invite you in your journaling to look at how you've been domesticated. How have you been domesticated? What are the ways, what are the agreements that you've said yes to? And remember, we've all been domesticated and we all have domesticated. Whether it's been a four-legged friend or a two-legged, we have. And so now's the opportunity to take a more expansive look. And what have you been taught to believe and act that is someone else's voice of perfection? Okay, you know there's a little voice in your head. I know you all have them. We all have a little voice in our head. Yes, tune in, yes. And often, it's not our voice. Whose voice is it? I invite you to look at that. And notice your willingness, notice your receptivity, notice if you feel afraid, it's okay. You are here in spiritual community to dive into this journey of self-exploration. And you are loved and you are supported all along the way. So, and isn't it wonderful to travel the journey with fellow sojourners? Yes? All right. So I just want to remind you, there's a book study group on Wednesday night. You can come at any time. Bill Sunderman has one at 9 a.m. And Linda Kester has one on Thursday at 12 noon. And every single week, I know it's kind of small, but back there on that table, there is a list of reflection questions that we're working with in the book groups. It does not matter whether you are in a book study group or not. Feel free to take them and work with them on your own. Every single week I'll have them, so if you are in the book group, you can, for this Sunday, it'll be for this week, this coming Wednesday. Feel free to take them, whether you're in a book group study or not. All right. Woohoo! All right, let's affirm together. I am willing to explore and release what no longer serves me. I open my heart and mind to claiming, knowing, and expressing more fully my true nature. And so it is. All right, beautiful. So I have some prosperity wisdom to share with you this morning from Celebrate Yourself by Eric Butterworth. Though you may have been struggling to achieve or acquire something within yourself, you already have it. Stop trying to get it and just let it. Relax, let go of tension, stress, and strain. Know your oneness. Feel the life, substance, and intelligence that you are. Claim the divine Christ pattern that is you. All right, so if you'll take your tithes and offerings in your hands, and if you're giving with someone, together, just hold it together and just feel the love as you affirm the offering blessing. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. And let's add, I am grateful. I am grateful, yes.